Hey guys, subscribe for daily knife content. And if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for links to some great online retailers. There's also individual links for knives that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and welcome to episode 89 of The Knife Guy. I'm a knife enthusiast, knife collector, knife user, knife enjoyer of many sorts, and today I am joined by another huge knife guy. This is actually Russell from Artisan Cutlery. How are you today?
Hey, doing good, MC. How are you? Is it doing good over there? Everything's not too cold where you are?
Actually, there's a blizzard right now.
Oh, joy! That's
It came out of nowhere. It was literally this morning. It was like it's gonna snow, and we look outside, and they canceled school and everything. So yeah, it was actually it was a blizzard here, but I'm warming inside, so I'm doing good.
Well, now I feel like a whip for being like, it's so cold in my garage in California. It's like 54 degrees. I'm dying. It's like, nah.
Oh man, yeah, 54. On days that it's 54, that I won't wear
like sandals, shorts, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a bunch of new. I wanted to talk with him here on Knife Guy because you guys messaged me and said we've got some more new models. Would you want to? And I've had a very positive experience. You guys know who have watched, had a very positive experience with Artisan Cutlery knives in the past. Highlight a bunch of their stuff. They've got really awesome stuff that's on the higher end, and they've got some of the best stuff on the market that's on the less expensive end.
Oh yeah.
So when you said you wanted to show me some new stuff, I was like, let's see it, man. Absolutely.
Heck yeah. Oh yeah, no, I'm super excited because we really have done such a good job over the course of 2020 since we are still relatively new. Like Artisan started in 2018, so that's when our stuff started hitting the market. From there, we came up with just a huge amount of models to start with, which was great, but it also kind of came in as a little confusing because when you essentially drop 20 plus models on your initial opening run of products, people get confused. So we had to kind of like sort through this stuff and kind of establish the brand. 2019 got us established. 2020, we're sitting there going, okay, it's a weird year. What's going to happen? And just we were slammed. The CGRB line took off like a rocket. And I got some numbers from some people, and there have been across the board through most of our sellers over 1,000% increase on sales of CGRB products. I mean, that is a little skewed because because we released them Q4 of 2019. So it's like, of course, it's 1,000% increase. They only bought like 20 models in 2019, and then 2020 was just like, all right, they're all gone. Let's double that order, and then doubling it every month. It's like, yeah, of course, it's over 1,000%. But yeah, we've been doing a great job with the budget knives, and we're starting to make a bit of a shift for the artisan products for this year. As you notice with the Arroyo, I think I sent one of those to you, and yes, you'll notice how it's not quite the same as most of the higher end artisans. It's got a great profile. It's got a lot of extra work that goes into the handle materials and the styling of it, but it's not really a hyper expensive product. It just kind of feels a bit more like it. So what we're doing here is we're offering things at a slightly, more competitive price point with a bit more workmanship and styling put into the artisan models versus the CGRB, but still keeping it comfortably budget. We are going to still make some of the higher end ones. We are still doing the nicer steels, the titanium, the micarta, etc. But we want to kind of have a more diverse brand. And as a company that's already really diverse, because man, we have a lot of stuff. We're trying to kind of find that niche. There's this elusive spot in the knife market right now for people that just want a really nice knife, but genuinely can't drop like $200-$300 on a knife. Like we all are, right? We're knife people. We get it. Like, sure. I can't just go on, can't go on Blade. She's like, oh man, what do I feel like today? Oh, hey, cool. Let me buy a blank $200 knife.
Right. Yeah.
I wish. God, I'd love that, but no.
Yeah.
So
no, I get it. And you've nailed, actually, that's because I still have this. I did the Arroyo. By the time that my audience is seeing this will have already, because I did a giveaway, my 40,000 subscriber giveaway. This is part of that. And I told everybody, I was like, this thing is excellent. And it really does
such a good knife.
Exactly the way that you described. It feels like a knife that would cost a lot more money, but you can have it for substantially less. I was shocked that it made it into that price point. And people really seem to like the new proprietary AR RPM9 steel as well.
It's good stuff.
So,
It's definitely going through its kind of phase of people being a little skeptical at it. They want to try it out. They want to kind of like, oh, what's this? What is it? I have lots of good things to say about it because the data that I've collected about it and my personal sense, like I hung it. I have a bottle of 4 times power vinegar sitting right on my counter over there that I hung a RPM9 blade in, and my results were so painfully inconclusive because nothing happened to it. It's like, all right, I'm just gonna leave it there all night. I came back in the morning, like, and I can't make a video with this. There's no change. So I'm impressed with how stainless it is. It's like the stuff's really good. It's just that it's still kind of getting itself into the market. Because of course I understand people are going to be a little skeptical about a new steel.
sure.
And we released the formula. I had to kind of like, badger our team to say like, hey, we got to make a video on the formula because, we got to be open about this.
Yep.
I had to edit it because I feel terrible because I ended up making a mistake in the speaking lines of it. So I had to re-edit it and it took me forever to get it back out, but it's really not a hyper complicated steel. It is, it's essentially, I can't say it's the same as, but it's similar to a powdered 440 or a powdered 9CR or,
Yep.
but it behaves differently because of the powdered metallurgy. It's got, the best I can compare it to is it has some properties similar to VG10, but at the same time, VG10 is a very different formula.
Right.
It also has some properties that are similar to ABL, but again, super different. And both of those steels perform way differently than RPM9.
Sure.
But in terms of what the knife community has been screaming about for the last year is no more D2, no more Chinese D2.
Right.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of D2. It stains all the time. I'm sorry. I make these hand gestures because I hear it all the time.
That's what I imagine it looks like when people say that. Is exactly that. Yeah.
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 I mean,
But you're
we
right.
like our
You're
D2.
right. Yeah. You're exactly right. I hear that too.
D2. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You guys, the best thing that you did was releasing like it was so open. It was a secret for a short amount of time, and then you're like, here's the composition, here's what it is, and people were like, yeah, that's great. They're more open when people don't try to keep things so locked down and under closed doors. It's fantastic, and it allowed us to explore it and talk about it, right? So yeah, that was excellent. We all appreciated that. So.
I'm glad. I mean, it was a good move, and I hope that in the upcoming year we can actually get some real scientific testing done on it. I know that I've sent it to enough people who did lab testing on it, but it wasn't like, I haven't got a chance to get a raw piece of the material to like knife steel nerds. I'm hoping to at some point. We just haven't been able to get. It's the shipping. Just to send that raw billet over is like so much money to get it stateside, to get it here. We might as well just send a finished product, which we can do because we have our warehouse. So I'm hoping to get that done, but I've already had like Mike Embler, who designed the Sea Snake. If there's anyone that knows how to mess with steel and mess with, sharpening and all this, it's Mike. I mean, the guy sharpens for a living. He's one of the most, I think he's one of the most well-respected sharpeners. As someone you want to send your knife to get a custom sharpening job in our little knife community. Mike's a great dude. He loves the stuff. And I am well aware working with him, if he didn't like it, he would not let us make his knife using that steel. And he was like, no, I want this knife and only this steel. I love it.
Awesome.
Like, I am glad to hear that.
That's awesome.
But it's like, it's been good stuff. I'm really happy. So we are going to be releasing a lot more knives using RPM9, and we're actually making a shift to having more of our regular products in RPM9 for next year.
Okay.
So let's see. Why don't we start by showing off some knives? I got a handful of knives here, not a lot, because again, we did put out a lot of products in Q4 of last year, but I got 5 really cool ones. So let's see. Where would you like to start? Do you want to start on the lower end with the CGRBs or go high and go low?
Let's start out with this. I'm curious with the CGRBs. Let's start there and move up.
Okay, all right. This one's going to be fun. So just to preface this, one of my personal favorites from CGRB last year was the Rhea.
I got it right here. Yeah.
I love this thing. I absolutely adore this knife. You got the natural one.
Yep.
This is such a good knife. It's so great. It's so it's light in hand. It's small. I never drop pocket carry my knives. I prefer clips, but this one, I kept the clip on mine. I got the nice tie clip on this one, but this one I drop carry. I just drop it in my back pocket because it's clean. It's smooth. It's river rocky, and action's great. So this is awesome. Look, right. However, there's a distinctive set of our population that was kind of unhappy with the move to smaller, lighter, gentlemanly knives. And the guys who just say, hey, what happened to the big stuff? Well, we have a product for them.
All right.
This is the CGRB Tigress.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's covered my whole face. This thing is a monster.
Wow, dude, that is a monster.
It's huge.
I get that. Like there's a part of me that loves the more practical, like there's a part of me that loves the CGRB RIA for what it is, right? But there's also a part of me that's like, give me the big, crazy, meaty over build. Show that thing and talk about it some more. So because my audience is looking at me right now because my screen's blowing up, but you talk about that thing.
All right, so this is the Tigress, named after the river, not the Tigress, the Tigress. And I am calling this one an unabashedly big, overbuilt, over-the-top cleaver-style folder. It is everything that Artisan was known for initially with our big, really over-the-top models. And this is just like, all right, we have a few bigger, chunkier models from CGRB, like the Crag, which is, again, excellent knife. But we're saying, okay, time to make it really flashy, make it big. And you notice on this guy, there's actually some different working on it. This is actually a double layer G10. So we have the white on top here and a textured black on the bottom. This one also comes in a blue and a green version that have a PVD coated blade. We have a custom pivot right there. I'm trying to make sure I don't cover it up with my own shirt colors. But yeah, we have that custom pivot, kind of an indented pivot, and this crazy lanyard hole on the bottom. And again, for people that are like, oh, I don't like lanyards, again, totally cool. This is made for the people that really want a lanyard. And see how it's got that little indent there? So the lanyard actually hangs straight out of the pocket at an angle. This is one heck of a knife. I mean, it's huge. It's got all these features on it that really are it's made to be a user. And it fits in, like, it really seats in the hand. And I'm sitting here with my kind of medium-sized hands. This thing is just big in hand. It seats really well. And again, look how thin that blade is. This is actually, I believe this is a 1.2, might be a, 0.13 stock. So
oh my gosh, wow.
For something this size, it's relatively thin, and especially with that nearly complete flat grind, it terminates at a very thin edge. It's not super, super razor thin, but it is definitely thinner than you'd see on a lot of knives, especially with something that wide. And it's just, look how smooth that is. It's a bit of a guillotine.
I bet when I laughed, it will switch back to me. Show that action again.
There we go. Nice and smooth. I mean, to be fair, it's got a giant blade. Of course it's going to fall shut, but we do use the same ceramic ball bearings on the CGRBs that we do on the Artisan models. It's got great action. Man,
very cool.
The flip on this thing is so good too, because it really has this kind of the flipper isn't huge, but it definitely is quite prominent. It's got that nice angle, so in the pocket it'll slide past, but it really is a substantial flipper. So if you light switch it just straight across, nice, but the push button on this thing is just bam. And for something that's huge, oh my goodness. So let's get
that's just magical, man. I'm hoping that you guys will send me one to take a look at on the channel.
We got you covered. We got you covered. Actually, in fact, just so I can say this, one of the things that inspired us to do something like this and not put it back in the drawer was looking at your video of the proponent, the full brass proponent. And yeah, you know what? You said something that's kind of important, and that we've definitely took into consideration for some of the knives this year, is that sometimes these just need to be kind of fun. Sometimes having a piece that gives you joy and makes you feel good, makes you feel kind of like, you know, like it's a knife, it's so cool. Yeah, that kind of feeling, that's something we all kind of want. And making tools that are strictly practical, that has its own joy, obviously. Like, I love practical stuff. I like knives that make me feel like this is a good user, this is a good cutter, this works well, this feels great, of course. But sometimes it's good to have something that's just a little out there, a little over the top, because that's kind of what we like in this community. We like things that make us feel a certain way and make us happy. This makes me happy. I like this.
That's so wonderful to hear. I preach that all the time, and I because it is in different ways. It's fun to well, it's important to take a lot of elements really seriously, right? I mean, it is important. That's a really important element in terms of quality. But it's also super important to step back and go, we all really like knives. Sometimes we enjoy the excess or the crazy or the really intense. It's fun, and it's so cool to hear you guys take that perspective. I just love that, man. That is really, really cool. And I think the people who are watching this right now are really gonna, step back and go, that's awesome. That makes me want to pay attention to see what else they come out with. That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Seriously, I think that's awesome. Good for you guys. That's great.
And I also know that some of these things are going to be a little polarizing. Like, that's not for everyone. I mean, for me personally, I'm not going to carry a big old huge cleaver in my pocket all the time. I don't know what the heck I'm going to do with it. I work in a warehouse. I mean, this thing's like, all right, cool. Now let me just sever giant pieces of cardboard. Oh wait, I needed those. Those are boxes I needed to, you know, break down. But you know, it's cool to have. It's fun. You pull that out with your friends. You're like, hey, I got a new knife. Oh, what'd you have? Ka-chunk. It's like, yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. What's the steel on that one?
So that one is RPM9. That is a big old honking piece of RPM9.
Wow. Very cool. There's a lot of work that went into all the different intricacies and all the different layers.
Just to put like just some extra highlights, just to kind of show this again, like again, 2 layers G10 again, and there's going to be the green one and the slate blue one with the black underlayer. So it has a lot of pop to it. Has that extra colorful backspacer. So whole different clip style. So we have this bent deep carry. So it's an extra long deep carry with the countersunk screws, flat on the surface. So we can do 2 sides. So we haven't drilled that out on this one because it's a proto, but yeah, there's a lot of extra bits and pieces that went into making this one what it is. There's clearly a lot of work and design put into it. Now I'll leave that with our in-house team. Really has a good grasp of these things as we're trying to kind of find our style. And this was one of those things where originally we're looking at everything like the Feldspar and the Rhea and are definitely the best sellers of last year. This is saying, okay, we don't have to do everything like that. Not everything has to be hyper smooth. Not everything has to be hyper clean. Some people really do want a little excess, and that's what makes it fun.
Absolutely. That's great, man. I think that's excellent. I can't wait.
That one's gonna be fun.
Cannot wait to handle that one. That looks excellent. So what do you got next?
All right, so that is the only CGRB we have lined up for Q1 for 2021. We will have more coming out, obviously, but that is the first one. So we have 4 artisan models. So we are actually, one of them is actually as of today, as of last week, available. So let me start with that one. Let's go with, I think this is my favorite of the whole bunch. In fact, this is my favorite of last year. So I think you've seen this one. This is the Artisan Cutlery Arian.
Yeah, I have seen that, and I've been itching to get.
Oh, it's so good. Clean. It's so good. So this is designed by Chris Ortiz from Cerberus Knives, who actually does scale work. He does some fantastic custom scales, and he's a fairly young knife maker. He does make knives, but they've mostly just been kind of by hand. He's a good guy, but he has his designs and his machining and his ability to do 3D designs has been incredibly impressive. And this is his first production knife that we decided to pick up because his stuff is just so actually, let's get a close look. The whole profile of this knife is so incredibly clean, but also has a very distinctive style to it. I can't put my finger on it exactly, but it's just absolutely beautiful. Let's get the backside here.
Oh, beautiful.
It has that really short clip at an angle that sits really well in the pocket. We actually did a little bit of micro milling on the back here. I'm not sure if you can quite see it with the bright lights. Well, we'll let's see. Almost, you can see a little bit of it there. But this was his idea. Is he wanted to make a real serious everyday carry, like a truly large everyday carry knife that would have kind of a feel and kind of that aesthetic of something similar to the Chris Reeve Sabenza, a real everyday, hard use for everything, quality built knife. And his styling, I can't say it looks Sabenza-esque. It does not, but it certainly has this neutral feel in hand, this neutral, large, it's clean. It's simple. There's something that's very elegant about this design without having a, I wouldn't call it a slim, sleek knife. It's blocky, it's full-handed, it's something you really get a good grip on. But if you notice, this thing is incredibly thin. It's super slick. Look at that stock.
Oh boy, yeah.
And
I was gonna say, like, that is a blade profile that I've always found really appealing. And I'm just in my mind right now, I'm thinking, I bet I could. I feel like I know how that feels, and I bet I could get my middle finger in there and do the reverse flick with it. And show that again.
Let's see. Let's do a middle finger. Let's do, it's cold in here, so I got numb hands, but I can still do front finger. I'd probably get a ring finger, even with numb hands. Oh, come on, don't mess up on me now. Pinky finger. Okay, we'll call it good.
That was wonderful.
Oh, that is with a completely numb hand. It is too cold in here for my weak California body. But here's the big one. So that thumb hole. Now, I've had a lot of people say it's like, does that work? Can you flick with your thumb? Yes, you can. You can do a full flick. Oh, as I fail it. Let's try that again. There we go.
All right, there you go.
And then you can slow roll it. Now, notice how my thumb does that thing where you actually kind of take it and you slide it back, almost like you're in that channel right there. That has such a nice, satisfying feel where it's really just kind of like a mechanical motion. And you know, there is something about this knife in particular that's very mechanical. Like if you look at the angles on the back and the cutouts and how everything's very like straight lined and all the curves are very, very precise. There's a machinist touch to this knife. There's something about this that could only be made by someone who's a machinist. And I think Chris really had this great concept for a knife like this. His style is really about precision. And this one translated so well because not only is every aspect of it very precise, it's something that can be machined very easily. So for us to have this, he just sent us the file. We're like, we don't need to change much of anything on here. It's all done. It's all clean on top of that. One thing I love is look at that micarta. Like, look at that. Double coral. Double coral micarta. No one's used that stuff. And it's not quite a burgundy. I think the light's coming across it. It's just not quite. It looks burgundy in this light, especially because I've been carrying this one a bit and it has that nice kind of like, you know, micarta patina. But it's more of kind of like a two-tone red, kind of a deep red, and then a lighter red. And it's just so cool looking. In fact, actually, I have the prototype here. So you can see what the original version was going to be. We were going to use the green micarta.
Very nice.
Nice. But that red is so much more poppy and so much more interesting.
It's always fun to see it's like when you see a model in a different color and you see the contrast and then
the side by side.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. But this has been in the works since last year, and it is we definitely wanted to make this one kind of our highlight of the beginning of 2021. Well, and I think go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I saw that on Instagram. You know, as we're just scrolling for something to catch our eye. That's what we do is we scroll until something. That post on Instagram, man, I screeched to a halt on that one.
It's so
such a good looking profile. I love it.
It is so good. And I can definitely say as a user, because this one was designed as a user, it's meant to be a cutter. In fact, I think Chris's original design of this one was meant to be a little chunkier, but just measurement wise, when it came off the line, it ended up being a little thin. And I was saying, hey man, I know this came out a little bit trimmer than you wanted. Did you want us to thicken up everything on this? And he's sitting there going, no, this is amazing. I'm like, thanks, man. But it cuts so well. It just having this also for me, again, I know your hands are a lot bigger than mine, but again, medium-sized hands. This thing is not small. This thing is not at all small. It's a pretty big knife, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you just have a really solid, reliable tool in your hand. And I'm sitting there going, I don't care. I carry 3-inch knives. I'm like, oh, I'll pull up my knife and wait, that's like a 3 3/4 inch knife. And I'm sitting there just like, man, this is great. I think this has actually single-handedly changed my opinion of what I personally want to carry. I've gone from strictly carrying 3-inch, maybe 3 1/4 to like, I kind of like those like almost 4-inch knives now, and it's this one that kind of brought me there. So good job, Chris, for changing my mind on something I've been so stubborn about for years.
So is it so good? Is it 8 1/2, 8 3/4 overall? What's the overall measurement on that guy?
I think oh boy, he asked me the wrong question. Of course, it's the one thing I didn't write down.
It's okay. I'm just guessing with the blade length. You said it was about 3.75. I'm just guessing that territory. It's a big knife.
About there. Yeah. I think we're looking at 8 1/4, I believe. Don't quote me on that one, but I think we're there. It's definitely got a lot of handle, and the ratio on this guy is you get a little bit of extra butt to where the blade is. So let's pop that open a little bit. So just a tiny bit of extra butt there. But it's got plenty of space in hand. And for someone with, Chris is a fairly large-handed dude. He still has plenty of space in the handle. So he's a bit more spread out here, but you have a lot of space to work with. It's got real estate. And for me, I kind of like having a little extra back here because that means I have a bit more balance towards the midline. And that's just me. I'm not really worried about this, like, that blade to handle ratio thing is all well and good, but I'm not I'm not the average knife dude where my hands are a little smaller, but I love the way this feels in hand, and just, oh, I'm so happy this one finally came out. This was just, it's so good. I have so many good things to say about it, but I only have so much time, so we'll stick with that.
I can't wait, man. Yeah, that's definitely one that you know, all the lines on it, the profile of the blade, the material choice, right? What's the steel on that guy?
That one is S35. The original
Okay.
prototype was meant to be RPM9, but we decided to step it up a little bit to S35 just to kind of give that that baseline performance everyone expects from a higher end steel. And we wanted this one to be a bit more premium. The RPM9 one would have been great, but I think in this case we wanted something that was kind of the benchmark for a premium knife, and I think this hits it really well. And you know what, in the future maybe we'll do an RPM9 version, maybe we'll do an M390 version, maybe we'll do Damascus, who knows. We're just kind of gauging the sales on this one, because again, Chris is a new designer. He is still developing his style, he's developing his fan base, and if this knife takes off like I think it will, that you may see more versions in the future. I'm excited for that. Also, yeah, that fidget factor, just to highlight the fidget factor on that knife. Oh my goodness, that is something. We had a couple of people that we sent the protos to, and they were just saying it is the most fidgetable knife for people that like the middle finger flick and the index flick and just that kind of nice, like snappy popping action. It is just an absolute joy to play with.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And can you, are we able to provide a link for that right now? Is that something that I can?
Let's see. We only have this available directly on our. So this one is actually available now. I have this one on the Artisan website. It should be appearing at retailers soon, but I can send you the link for the Artisan page, and I will get that one to you ASAP.
Okay, fantastic. Well then, yeah, you guys, I will. I'll make sure that there's some type of link down in the description that'll take you to that knife,
awesome,
so that you guys can get it. So cool.
Excellent. All right. So let's see. Let's moving on to number 3. Let's go with another Artisan folder. So again, this is kind of backtracking to that kind of clean, smooth line thing I was talking about before. And this one is an in-house design. We wanted something, again, to kind of highlight that smoothness, but we also want something a bit more premium than the CGRB line. So this is the Artisan CASador.
Ooh, very nice. I think I did see that on, I think I saw that on Instagram as well.
This one went up as well. This is a true Wharncliffe, nice and clean with a very teardrop style handle. I look at this thing and I'm like, this is very clean in hand. Again, with that nice kind of size, it's slim in hand, but it still fills pretty well because it really has a nice kind of taper up towards this section here. That big pivot with the titanium pivot collar. It's kind of a nice accent of this guy, but the blade on this thing seriously cuts. This has been my, I had to clean this thing really well because this was my box cutter. This is my, I'm opening boxes in the warehouse kind of knife. It's my tape cutter, and it's just like, all right, open, cut. Oh, hey, put it down, grab it, go. It works well. It works really well. It's got a nice clean profile in the pocket. You also notice we actually did a new custom clip, new custom clip on this guy. So it has kind of a slight curve to it. It has this more paddle shaped at the end and the cutout. It's really clean looking. And I'm excited to see this with the not natural G10, because I'm all about like, hey, where's the micarta version? Let me see the micarta version, because we do have a micarta version in the works. But this one is just really slick. The clean lines, a clean slow. Let's see. Let's highlight. God, I gotta move it. Where can I put this so you can actually see this? It's catching a lot of shine, but that nice. Oh,
it's good. Yeah.
There we go. Hyper clean profile.
Yeah, and yeah, I like that. And you know, I'm really glad that you guys did an enlarged pivot, because it gives it a unique element that if you had done a smaller pivot, it still would have had a cool profile. But that's like the wow factor on that knife, is the really oversized pivot with the titanium pivot collar. That's cool. I like that.
It's neat. I'm actually hoping it's somebody to see someone do a mod where they do a hammer finish on the pivot. So just take a ball peen hammer to it and just kind of like put the little dots in it and color it. And I'm just like, come on, can we do that in the factory? Come on, dress it up. I hope. Yeah. But in terms of construction, this one is a straight liner lock. So just a plain old simple non-inset liner lock. On a lot of our more recent ones, we've done inset liners. This one does not have it to add a little more substance to the blade, a little more weight. I think it was a good choice on this one in particular, because if we did the inset liner lock, it would just be a little too light. Kind of like, again, with the Rhea, or sorry, no, the Rhea doesn't have an inset. The Feldspar, there we go. The Feldspar has the inset liner lock, but it also has a fairly substantial frame that makes it feel really nice in hand. But this is trim. this is this is nice and trim. And I think the balance of this one, it kind of speaks a lot about the way this knife is used, because it really has a nice bit of back balance. It's very actually, it is balanced right around that big old pivot. So it's got this nice feel in hand. And, you know, I don't have a ton to say about it, because I think the design itself really speaks to those who want this Wharncliffe shape, this true Wharncliffe. And I'm seeing a lot more true Warnies on the market now, instead of the kind of the angled Wharncliffe that we're used to in tactical knives.
Sure.
This is kind of proven this year to be a very practical shape. I mean, again, it's got some similarities to let's get a sea snake out. Gee,
okay,
look at that.
Yeah.
So after Mike did this one, I mean, this is a fantastic fixed blade. We have had so many people absolutely love this thing, but on top of that, a lot of other companies seem to have released true Warnies, and a lot of people are getting into them as just general users. It allows you to have a fine tip to do a bit more close-in work, whereas that angled Wharncliffe kind of doesn't. It really is a piercer, whereas this really is a kind of a fine cutter.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh, also one thing I do like about this is, since I'm the guy that does a pinch grip like this, I do this for a lot of things. I like side cutting, especially, again, boxes. If you do a box like this, I swear it gets really annoying when you're cutting. This is cut, done. I like that there's this index point on the pivot. There's something that just feels very satisfying about grabbing this, and you have that motion. You're kind of using your fingers to pinch here, and you can cut like this, cut like this, cut like this, cut like this. It feels good. And there's a very tactile enjoyment to this particular model that I can't quite put my finger on in a way that I could describe, but it's like, I like it. I like the way this feels. I like the way it moves. I like the way it closes. I do like the flipper with this kind of low, just a direct arrow straight up. It push buttons really nicely, but I think light switching on this guy feels great. It really has that nice just pull and go. So it's a very satisfying knife. I wish I could speak more about something about this guy that says like big things, but no, it's subtle, it's clean, it's nice.
So I gotta make a comment for my audience real quick. I've talked with people that work with other companies, and sometimes I can tell like you're definitely just marketing, and you're not as much of a knife guy as you are marketing. You are a knife guy. Like you are clearly like every last little detail and all the terminologies. And it's way more fun to talk with somebody, who is like really kind of embrace the whole aura of all this, it's fun. I love that, man. Like the way that you talk, it's like this translates. So like, I know exactly what he's describing there when he's talking about the different elements, the different positions, drawing the blade through different types of materials and how that makes you feel. Yeah. Thank you, man. I love that. Is that one RPM9?
Yes, actually, let me double check. I believe this one is. Pretty sure it is. Yes, it is. That one's RPM9. Again, this one's gonna be in the same ballpark as the Arroyo, with that kind of more quality built, budget-ish model. Again, kind of in that probably a 60, 70 range instead of the 100, 120. So it's kind of that, it's that bridging the gap between high-end budget and kind of stepping into that area of something a little bit nicer than your average kind of mid-tier knife, just with that little upgrade of like the titanium bits, the titanium clip, the RPM9, instead of something in the same line with D2 and just plain pivots. It's a nice little step up. Yeah,
that is cool. Very cool.
The CASador.
Okay.
Hunter in Spanish. Also, to speak on the knife nerd thing, oh yes, I am very much a knife nerd that works for a knife company, and I am broke. This is a terrible job to have if you're in this hobby. Never sell knives if you like buying knives, because my God, I'm so broke.
Oh, the horrible irony.
I go to shows and I know everyone. I'm like, hey guys, hey ProTech, hey ZT, how you guys doing? Hey so I see you have a new model out. I'm here.
Yeah. We all like that, man. We all the itch.
My God.
We're all so itchy all the time, and we're all
but it's that itch is very real, and I am guilty of buying some of the artisan knives off the bat, because I'm just like, all right, I know I'm gonna get samples to give away, but I gotta give them all away. I guess I'm just gonna like, guys, here, take my money. Send me one of my own with the batch.
Oh man, that's excellent. That's cool. Yeah, that would be rough. Like being like people, like I have it. well, I'm not going to sit here and say I have it rough, but like I'm so tempted by all the stuff that comes in, but you're right there on the front line. So it's
Oh.
like, it's hot out of the oven, you know, so to speak to you, you know? So yeah, I can only imagine.
Blade show's hard, man. Blade show's hard. It's like, hey, I'm here on company money, on company time, but here, take my money. Give me the knife. Give me the knife.
Oh man, I've never been. I wanted to go this year, but you know, because of events, I couldn't go. So you know, it's fine though. I'll be patient, and when I finally do get to go, it'll be worth it.
It's Absolutely worth it. It's pretty great. Also, Blade West. I hope it comes back because we had such a good time at Blade West last year. It was a great time for us to interact with. It was very different than Blade Show. Blade Show, we were able to have 2 excellent years at Blade Show where we got a relatively small table. Actually, our first year was small table. Second year we got a nice booth, but we were in the secondary room they had. And it was nice because we got to interact with customers. We got to meet new people. We got to talk to our reviewers and our dealers and a lot of people who were like fairly big enthusiasts. We got to establish some new distributors, some new dealers. It was great. Wonderful. But Blade Show East is pretty like you get in there and it's go time. Like it is business. It is selling. It is negotiating. It is talking deals. It's signing paperwork. You go. And for the customers, awesome. Like it is one hell of an experience because you go in there and it is just a fantasy wonderland of all the people and all the things that you love. It's great. I will say by the end of Blade East every year, I am just like, I'm just dead. I am dead.
Oh man, but that sounds, I mean, like that's a good, like if you're going to be worn out, at least be worn out doing something that you love. And that I'm sure it's just like adrenaline and the euphoria and just like the constant, it's probably just overload, you know?
Oh, it is. But Blade West, if Blade West comes back, please Blade Show, make it happen again. Blade West was great because it was kind of an up and coming show. It was a little bit lighter. So it gave us a lot of time to sit there and talk with people, talk with designers, talk with buyers, talk with just new customers. And, you know, I had such a great time at Blade Show West because I'm sitting there having like hour-long conversations with people coming by saying, hey, I've never heard of your company. I don't know, much about this brand. I'm skeptical about Chinese-made products. And I'm sitting there going, hey, play with an artisan. What do you think? And it's so good to talk with customers. Like that is one of my favorite parts of this job is talking with customers, talking with makers, and talking with the people who are invested in knives. It's great. This is the coolest part of this whole business.
100%, man. That was in the early days of the channel. I remember first hearing about Artisan Cutlery and some, there were a lot of things that I'd never heard of. And of course, like it's just natural. I mean, it's human nature, right? You're skeptical of things that you have not experienced yet. And then I started to handle a few. And my interest started to grow and the new design started to peak. And I was also, there was tons of stuff for me to compare to, I mean, it was all over the place. So once I realized, they are incredibly competitive, in multiple different areas, and they're offering materials that people enjoy. A lot of stuff that was really surprising. I mean, I think that people watching this who have handled Artisan Cutlery and CGRB knives, they're going to be able to, they're going to agree with me when they say, I've actually been surprised multiple times over by the materials that we've seen on these knives and then what they cost. Even considering the incredible competition that you have in those different price ranges, it's still like, oh my gosh, this is only X amount of this. I mean, that's a good feeling. We like to see that. So that's what I've really enjoyed about Artisan Cutlery knives and CGRB knives for sure.
That's been one of our big points is that price point on the CGRBs was something that we're really competitive about. And it really is, hey, you're not getting a lack of quality with these. It kind of comes down to like, I've had people actively calling my work phone saying, why is this knife so cheap? What did you skimp on? It's like, we didn't skimp on anything. We just made a much bigger batch of them to compensate for the cost. We're reducing the artisan knives in batches that are fairly small. So the artisans are all made in batches that sometimes don't even exceed 100 pieces, whereas the CGRBs are being made in much larger batches. And that's how we're able to kind of have that somewhat lower cost. On top of that, since our factory is really good and we don't have a middleman, we're not going, we're not making them piecemeal, we're not aggregating, it's our factory. We're able to reduce costs some more because of that. We're working with the right materials. We have our suppliers on, they're on the phone. Like, hey, what do you need? We need this much G10. We need this much RPM9. We need this many pieces to make the pivots, this many screws, and it's like, cool, we'll ship that in the order to us so we can be a bit more accurate with how we make these. The cost reduction is not about making the quality lower. It really is about trying to optimize. And that's kind of the big question a lot of people have about the overseas production. Because, you know, we're an American company. Artisan is an American company, but you can tell we got a bit of Chinese flavor. The majority of our team is in China. The boss is, you know, he's a Chinese immigrant. He's a great guy. He's here in the US and he's in the LA area. And then he's in you know, he's in Yangzhou and Shanghai for work. He's a really nice dude. And he's really put a lot of time in building this brand up to be something that he likes as an American company. And it's like this issue where we're not sitting here saying, all right, we're taking pieces and putting together and throwing things out there and just saying, all right, here's a knife. It's like, no. All of these have time put into them. Some of them are great. Some of them are not as great. We try to experiment and get things right to see what people like, because we have things that we didn't expect to blow up. The Feldspar, we did not expect that knife to hit as hard as it did. Really?
Yeah, man.
It's so good.
I've talked to you on Instagram so many times, and I was like, it's really good. And I'm sure, you guys were like, okay, well, great. I'm glad that you. But the design is excellent. I mean, you know, there was care put into this and thought, and it just seemed to resonate with not just multiple reviewers, but the people who picked it up without even looking or watching a review. You know, a lot of people came to the same conclusion. Wow, it's really excellent. You know.
Yeah, and it's just the details on that. It's the little details on that one that are so impressive, because the Feldspar, if you just took that knife and took a picture of it, it's like, okay. It just, in the dictionary, knife.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it is. However, the little details on it. So the contour G10, the little pivot collar, the fact that the clip is actually a genuine deep carry that goes all the way into the pocket. Some people really prefer that lanyard hold, so the actual in-scale lanyard hold that a lot of people are into, a lot of people aren't. The blade profile, that nice thin grind from a fairly chunky stock. Like, it's not super thin. The Feldspar is not a razor blade. It's not a hyper thin. Like, it's not this. It's not the Arroyo. Yeah. But that's not the point. It was meant to be something for people that are daily users who want something more substance. It's meant to be just a true EDC. And, you know, it could have been a flop. For all we knew, and for what the market said, that knife could have just been one that just, you know, passing seagull over the head. It wasn't. It hit everything just right. And I think it's very gratifying to see that people noticed that. They noticed the work we put into it. They noticed how much we took this knife that could have been very plain and optimized it really well to be this just really well done piece. Like, it feels like quality. And I like to say, hey, if you hand this to someone, took off the logo, just, you know, rubbed off the logo, took a little acid to the laser engraving, handed it to someone and asked them how much this knife is, because you can do that with a lot of knives. I mean, let's be fair. From all the Chinese makers, all the overseas makers, some of the budget Kershaws, some of the, you know, the CRKTs, hand the knife to anyone, they'll be like, oh, well, somewhere between, I don't know, $25 and $300. Like, yeah, it's kind of,
yeah.
But the nice thing about the Feldspar and a lot of the CGRBs, again, like even something like the Mylea, like you hand this to someone and you ask them, hey, what's this worth to you? That number is probably going to be something fairly high, because you feel the details immediately. When it goes in your hand, you feel the details in it. And that's something that we really want in our knives. They should feel good. They should feel like quality. They should say quality, but not be priced at like $100, $150 for something that we consider to be our baseline.
Yeah.
And we're getting there to where a lot of our newer models are really screaming quality. They feel like it. They look like it. They talk it. They cut like it. But we're able to make them just right. And that's kind of our aim for the CGRB line. And to be fair, a lot of the newer, more budget artisans should scream quality. They should feel it. They should look it. They should handle like it. But feeling like quality doesn't always mean that you have to take and just like inject cash flow into it. You don't have to sit there and inject it with money to make it good. And when you handle some of the higher end artisan ones, they also feel really quality. We want this to be accessible. We want our products to feel just right. And, you know, if you've seen our website, we do have some knives that run in at $600-700. The full titanium Damascus, a great white, that thing is nuts.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, as far as knives like that, you know, people look at that, and I'm sure people who might be a little new to knife world, and they go, why
What
does
the
that
heck?
but those people have to realize, like, you know, like, I remember, I mean, it depends on where it's made. There's a lot of elements, but yeah, like, I'm used to seeing full titanium Damascus knives come in way over a grand, you know, and there's a lot of elements, a lot of different things. So when I looked at, I think I even messaged you about one of those, and I was like, what do I would really like to get, because I was like, that's an affordable full Damascus custom. So I'm gushing about those because I spent a long
I may have one lying around somewhere that could you know, I just gotta make sure you send it back.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, it's that is the case, and I think right now for me, the Arroyo is doing that. This is exactly what you were describing. It's a knife that screams quality that is beyond the actual price point that it falls into. And this is I mean, this knife is a culmination of all of that stuff. I mean, it's clear with this model that every step you guys take is a step towards better and better and better quality, that you're not pulling the anchor of more and more and more price, you know, with this. You're just making knives, you know, that have a reasonable price with better and better and better quality. And yeah, I gushed about this one. The review for this guy is not quite up yet, but in the review,
Oh, I can't wait to see it. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I was really pumped about that one.
Yeah,
That's
also
a really nice knife.
I also got to say, big thanks to Mr. Pinkerton for getting this one so dialed in, because that guy he just does magic with his handles and his blades. And the way that the way we did the contouring on this with this nice groove, and then the little bit of texture on here was all us, but Dirk's design and him saying, hey, can you adjust this? Can you make this little change? Can you adjust the flipper a little bit? Can you add the Spanish notch, etc.? That was all Dirk. And the guy really has an eye for this stuff.
That's
so
cool.
Big thanks to Dirk. He is such a good guy. He is so great to work with. And honestly, his designs come out the gate like, all right, cool. That is that's money.
They do look good. I've seen a lot of
proponent.
He did the proponent as well.
He did. That all brass one, the Smoky Mountain Knife Works exclusive all brass one, is still one of our best selling knives ever. And I'm sitting there going, are you kidding me? As someone who couldn't even consider carrying that knife, I'm just like, what kind of crazy dudes are, all right, I guess I'm just wrong about the entire industry, because I'm just like, there's no way this is going to sell. There's no way. This is a gimmick.
We all thought that the days of the massively overbuilt, like the popularity, but there were so many of us who, you know, as we transitioned to the next stage and we saw the new trends, so many of us were like, I kind of miss it because it's freaking ridiculous. And then if you watch that video where I unboxed it and absolutely lost my mind.
Yeah,
like,
it's so over the top.
Ridiculous, but it was so fun. Like,
it's a pound of knife.
I love that thing, man. And I still talk about it.
It's so good.
I bought another one and then gave another one away just because I was like, this is just a fun thing, you know, and I want somebody else to. It was Lindy Lou on Instagram.
Yeah.
And she was like, this is crazy. Like
she does cool stuff. She has awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Her custom jobs are great.
Well, was there anything else that you had?
Yeah, I got two more. I'm sorry. I talk a lot, man. All right. So we got two new Dylan Mallorys, and they're both fixed blades.
Okay.
All right. So let's see. Where am I going to start? I'm going to go with the more quote unquote subtle one. So got this guy. This is the Silax. Yep. Let's get a good angle on that guy. Designed by Mr. Dylan Mallory. You can tell it's got very much his signature style. And this one is, we're going to make a few little alterations to this. We're probably going to deepen this choil a little bit and make the blade a little bit wider towards the heel, because this was his take on a utility knife. However, it's a little bit different when it comes to being a true utility knife. Because when I think utility knife, I think, you know, your average 3.5 inch fixed blade, chunky stock, jimping on the spine, probably a drop point, you know, chunky handle, etc. Utility knife for does everything passably well, master of none. This takes it and actually moves it a bit more into the realm of a culinary tool. This has got some kitchen knife vibes going on here. Nice long handle, full tang handle. It's got, you know, the full steel rivets, and it's got a nice bit of back weight to it. So it really has a nice kind of, oh, my shirt's so dark I have no space to move this thing. But yeah, so it's a good kind of, I'd almost call it like a camping kitchen knife. This works for basic tasks. If you want to do anything around camp, if you're doing anything in the, you could almost use this for some bushcrafting, some bushcrafting tasks. This isn't going to be a log splitter, but it's a cutter, it's a slicer. But in the camp, it's like, great. This is a excellent backup kitchen knife, or even for someone doing hunting, this is kind of a dressing knife. So this can do a lot of different things, but it just takes the utility knife shape to a different dimension, where it's not really a all-rounder in one section. It's kind of more leaning towards some different tasks. Nice feel in hand, nice and long. I actually like how this is a fairly long handle, kind of keep that balance even. And the blade is also nice and acute towards the tip, nice thin stock. Again, this is RPM9. I may have used this thing in a kitchen for about a week without, aggressively washing it. Just like, all right, cool, gonna cut some apples, cut some oranges, and I'm gonna leave it on the counter overnight. And it still looks like this, except it's all scratched up from the Scotch-Brite pad. That was my bad. I should have done that. I was like, wash the knife. Oh no, this is the proto. Oh crap.
Well, that was the exact. I was gesturing at you because I didn't want the screen to pop back up. With every time I laugh, it switches. So I wanted to keep the focus on you, but that is exactly what I thought. He pulled that out, and I was like, "That's like a camp kitchen knife." So you're going to drop that a little bit down there,
just a tiny bit, and a bit more choil here. It's a little bit small. It's not uncomfortable, but just going to try to widen it out a little bit, just kind of make it a bit more general purpose. It's probably going to look a little more kitchen knifey when it's done, but so far this is actually in its current iteration a really nice general user. I think the one that you can't quite do with is do a full, like, it's not going to work like a cleaver or a full size like a 10-inch kitchen knife, 10-inch chef's knife, because it's shallow. But as a cutter, as a slicer, pretty much if you're not using the heel, if you're using the heel for things that are actually push cuts, so if you're actually doing things in camp where you're push cutting, or if you're paring or peeling, heel's great. But for the most part, if you're doing things on a cutting board or on a surface, this portion of the knife is really what's coming in contact, but it has that slight bit of curve, that slight bit of belly that really kind of brings into the cut. And with that dropped point, you really get a lot of cut towards the tip. So that gives you a bit more general utility. To be fair, in a situation where you're working in a warehouse like myself, this is a really nice box cut. It's like, all right, big knife, cut, boxes are done. Things are broken down. It works well in a lot of situations. Again, utility knife, just a little different. And again, that shape is very elegant. So that's, again, why the name is the Silex. That is the Latin for willow, or the willow leaf style shape. It also has that kind of almost, I can't say it's a perfectly willow shape, but it's got that nice clean line, and then this nice kind of fine acute point coming right off the back there. So this is a really fun one, really kind of very practical, very different. And for Dylan, it's one of his first fixed blades.
Yeah.
And actually, I'll be showing you the first one next, because this one's just the most, this is the more tame of the two, we'll say that much.
Okay.
But as a utility knife and as a user, this thing has been a joy to work with. And as someone who does like cooking a lot, I have had a good time with this one. I'm excited to see if maybe we'll make a bigger version in the future, because, man, I'm just like, let's make it a full 10-inch. Yeah.
Oh, man. That is cool. And Dylan, I've talked with him many times on Instagram, and he's a super nice guy. And he also, I mean, his designs with you guys have also gone over super well. People really like him. Centros. I enjoyed him. Yeah, the Centros.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Very excellent. God, that one that was the micarta. I'm sorry, we're talking about other models, but the micarta Centros, those contoured, I was just, I was like, oh, it's wonderful.
Actually, did you know that our new Artisan titanium clips can actually go on the micarta Centros?
Oh, really? That's awesome. Very cool. People can get those on your website, right?
Yes. Actually, if you'd like to see it, I have one. I'll just have to kind of run into the house and grab it, if you don't mind cutting the video for a second.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, give me a sec. I'll be right back.
I'll take a Monster Energy drink.
Cool. All right. So, because I had to buy this thing outright from BladeHQ because I loved it so much. All right, so here we go. Tie clips on the micarta Centros.
Oh, that's beautiful. Really works.
Does one great thing is that I love our deep carry pocket clips. Really nicely done. I really like the one on the Centros, but this takes away the hot spot that a lot of people complained about on the Centros, because this is, as you see, a contoured tie clip. And since it's that stick shape with everything kind of softened on the edges, no more hot spot.
Perfect.
So good. You don't get the deep carry though. You do have a bit sticking out of the pocket, but I can't complain too much because again, it's purchase and it's like, all right, come on. It's not a lot.
Yeah. Not a lot. No, I agree. I think that's excellent. That's awesome.
I love this knife so much. Dylan is such a cool guy. He does such great work with his designs, and he has such a very distinctive style to his knives. It's just like finding a designer who's new and fresh with designs that speak on their own is it's hard to find someone with that kind of skill out the gate. And Dylan came to us with his first designs, and it's like, these are distinctive. They all scream Dylan Mallory without even trying. And that's something that I really like about working with a lot of our designers, like working with Ray Laconico, the Centauri. Like that, the Centauri is a fairly large departure from Ray's normal styling, and yet it's like, yeah, that's Laconico. There's no way we could say, oh man, did Ray Laconico make that? It's like, of course he did.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Ray has always kind of been my benchmark when I talk about like personal style on a knife, because Ray's designs are so clean, and yet it always says this is Laconico. At the same time, like, you know, Gavco, Michael Gavco. Yeah. Would anyone mistake this for anything other than a Michael Gavic design? That's a Gavco knife. Absolutely. But his styling, again, like very distinctive with so many, like such like a dramatic knife. This is also the prototype Great White. I'm sorry that no one else can see the carbon fiber version because there's only two. All the other ones are plain tie, but it's nice working with designers who have this styling, and you can talk about it, you can kind of express how much, just like all these aspects about knife making. That's not just make a knife, it's what kind of flavor does the knife have? What's the designer say? What does the knife talk about? Like, that's one thing I like to talk about with our designers is how does this knife talk? And it's like, it seems like such a pretentious thing to say. That's such a, like a little, I should put on like some giant glasses and put a scarf on, you know, maybe a black turtleneck. Like, what does your knife say? How does this knife talk? Like, it's such pretentious BS. But at the same time, it's totally true. Like, what does this say? How does this talk to the people that like this product? And it's such a thing. Like, it's got to say something. Like, you have a knife that just says it's a knife. Oh, it's a big knife. Oh, it chops things. Like, cool. It says something. But no matter what you carry, it says something about what you enjoy in a knife. Like, for me, this knife said a lot to me. The Rhea says a ton to me, but I've had enough people say, "Whoa, Artisan's gone downhill. That's such a stupid looking knife. Who would carry it? Who would carry that thing? It's useless." I'm like, fine, man, whatever you say. But you know what? Again, people like you and plenty of other reviewers have been saying the Rhea is one of the best things we've done so far. And you know what? To each their own. That's cool. I can't judge anyone's personal taste, kind of, but you know, it's just the product's got to talk. The design has to speak, and it's got to have something that says that, you know, it's got to convince you to say, I want you to buy me and carry me and enjoy me and have something in your collection, all that stuff. And that's kind of like, that's something that we're all trying to aim for, to get this nice kind of like, it's building our brand. Like, we've got to have products that talk.
Sure. And you know what it is for me to cap out on that? This is something that you guys do well. For me, somebody who generally does prefer a medium or anywhere from a full size to a larger knife.
Oh, I've noticed. So,
so
that Hinder collection, man. That Hinder, dude. I wish, man. Those are nice.
It takes a special small knife to get me to pay attention, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got this, and I was like, holy crap, this is a really well done small knife, right? You guys do a lot of knives that speak to people who traditionally don't like knives that are a specific style or size, but work really well. And it makes them think differently about when I handled this, I was like, I might like a whole bunch of other stuff that I wasn't even aware of, you know? And so that has happened multiple times that's as far as like the language of the knife speaking. Mm-hmm. This one was screaming at me going, no, it's me, you know? And
so good. It's such a good design.
Oh, it is. It's wonderful. But yeah, sorry, we got pulled away from Dylan.
Oh, it's all good. All right. So now we're going to go on that. My goodness. On the whole talk of language, we're gonna go with probably the loudest knife of this whole lineup. And I mean, this is probably the loudest thing we have, and I love this because it is a pure piece of joy.
Okay.
Oh boy. All right, here we go. We already got something going on here.
Okay.
This is the Dylan Mallory designed Tigress.
Oh my gosh!
Look
wow.
at this. Look at that. Oh my god. It is this is so much fun. Look at that.
That blade is very Dylan Mallory, definitely.
I mean,
but yeah, you're right, man. It's striking. It's like, yeah, there you go. I was gonna say
a little centrosy, but it's a lot more pointy.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Let's see if I can get a good actual highlight of this. There we go. Look at that. It is it's a burn trout knife on steroids. This is if you had to take down a prehistoric bird and or trout.
Yeah. Oh man, wow, yeah.
I also have my little running joke. It's the COVID safe knife. You can touch your key. You can punch in your numbers on a keypad with this thing. This is so out there, but at the same time, and like, okay, come on, this is absolutely fun.
Sure,
it's got
that's
it's
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Joy, right?
Yeah. And if for someone that wants to use it, someone who wants to use this as a tactical tool, oh heck yes. Oh my goodness, this is a side draw dream. Just put the finger in the ring, pull, you're here. Ice pick ready to go. In terms of actual usage, I mean, come on. If you like the Centros, this is the Centros with a super fine tip with a slightly thinner stock. There we go. Slightly thinner stock. And it's a fixed blade. You have your pinky here, and this is cuts for days. You got plenty of that belly right there for slicing, and a much more fine point if you actually have to do piercing tasks. In terms of just as a knife, yeah, ain't nothing wrong with this guy. This is going to be just as functional as anything else. But just that big ring and the little like the door knocker on the end there, and just the styling of this is so freaking cool.
That is cool. That is cool. What is the little nub on the ring for? What's the idea with that? For adjusting.
It's for knocking on door. Yeah, knocking on doors. It's for requesting entry.
Oh, okay.
Knock, knock, who's there?
Well, I can see that it's made absolutely ideal for that exact circumstance. Mm-hmm. That is cool. It is loud, man. And it's got Dylan Mallory in it, and it's got the fun, the crazy element. But you're right. I mean, it probably will. Somebody who's wanting to use it in very specific tactical scenarios will be able to use it in those situations. So there you go. That's cool.
Also, one thing I found out with this: if you are in a cold weather climate, if you are using heavy gloves, or if you work in meat packing, this is great, because this way, if you're wearing big old gloves, just finger in the ring. You just kind of seat it in the glove, pull it out, or, in this case, someone's doing this, you're using the pinky finger to pull it out. And this point will pierce packaging really easily. So if you're doing a lot of things with saran wrap, or you're doing things that are pallet wrapped, this is just pop, cut, pop, cut, pop, cut really easily. Drop back in the sheath, disengage the hand. You still got your gloves on. Instead of if you're using have you tried opening a thumb stud operated under 3-inch knife wearing thick mittens or thick gloves? No, it's freaking impossible.
Yeah,
even a flipper's a pain. In this case, it's like, can I index this knife where I can't feel my hands? Oh yeah, there's a freaking ring. Of course, yeah. It's like there, something. Pick a finger, pull the ring. You have the knife. It's easy to index, but it's so cool. It's so fun. It's so interesting, and it's so distinctive. Also, check this out. We did a little bit of shadow boxing on the scales, like we did kind of on the Arroyo. So so we're doing a bit more shadow boxing. So the Arroyo, the Rhea has that kind of slight extra touch. Some people aren't into proud liners. I get it. But the nice thing about this is it lets you index in the hand a bit more. You can kind of feel where everything is. The scales still give you balance, and they still give you that nice grip in hand, but it does feel a little bit more lively in the hand. I like that. I like the fact you have this kind of like this bit of metal to index against. And one cool thing, a lot of people, I forget to highlight this, but a nice little detail we did is we actually chamfered out the area of the ring right there. So there's this nice little cutout. So when your finger's in there, it really is a nice secure grip. We're probably going to be adding a little jimping right here just for additional kind of a tactile sensation. It's not like it needs more grip because, again, it's kind of got a lot of grip with the ring, but that sensation of having a bit of jimping right here gives you more positive grip when gripping like this. Probably a bit more jimping along the spine too, again, for that forward-facing grip, kind of more positive grip here. This is just, it's cool. It's such a cool knife.
Cool. I'm happy you guys take into account those. I'm a huge fan of shadowboxing. I point that out. I'm pretty aggressive about it. I point it out as like, I like it. I don't care if you don't like it. I'm not going to say there's a negative side to it. Like that's how I am on my, because I like how it looks. I like it when you guys.
It's clean, it's shiny, it's pretty. It adds a visual effect to the knife that really stands out. And for me, because I like the feeling of a more kind of, I guess you call it more of a kind of like a diamond shaped handle. So kind of that triangle, square triangle instead of a round. As much as that, like if you take and crown spines are wonderful. I love that, but kind of a chamfer, flat chamfer feels better to me. And on handles, I feel that gives you more purchase because you're actually, instead of having full contact on a rounded surface, which tends to roll a bit more readily, having those angles just seats a little nicer. Maybe that's just me. It could absolutely just be me in the way my hands work, but I like the way that feels. And I think this, in that case, this just has a much more positive grip for me. Purely personal, but for me, I love it. I love the way this feels. And it's not like I'm going to say like, one that doesn't have it. So something like the Sillax, which actually does not have the proud liners. It's actually nice and flat. This, again, feels totally fine, but I feel like there's more kind of movement here where the other one feels a lot more kind of like, okay, I can index everything. I know where everything is. I can touch it. It's there. It's present. It's not like I need it. Again, like at that level, it's like, it's just purely tactile. But that's the joy in use. It should feel good. It should feel, pleasurable in a tactile sense. Sure. And the shadowboxing does that. I love the feel. I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh, and I hope going forward we're going to be doing more of this on more of our knives. And again, even on the Sea Snake, we did the same thing. Just a little bit of shadowboxing.
It's nice. It's cool. I see that on like some of the nicer fixed blades that I've seen that I've handled that cost multiple hundreds of dollars. They have that there, and it looks good. It adds that element that people want to see. That's just, there's more than just like the flush, which is fine too. But I like to see the peaks and the the more flat parts and how they all kind of come together geometrically. It's pleasing, to the eye, to the touch. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, the steel on that last one.
RPM9 on both of them. So that is meant to be nice and stainless, nice and durable, keeps the cost, middling. But having that on our fixed blades has been something that we're very excited about. Considering these are fairly like mid-sized fixed blades, not really big ones. It's a good option because it holds up well, it lasts long, and it's really the nice thing about RPM9 so far. I don't think I mentioned this when we talked about it, but one of the biggest highlights we've gotten on it so far is that RPM9 is incredibly easy to maintain. If you're doing a full sharpening, it takes a little time because it does maintain that hardness similar to D2, maybe a little bit less, but not a lot less. So it's still really hard. However, this is the thing that I don't get. And the thing that all my practice with steels, all my knowledge of this stuff, I'm not a metallurgist. I'm just a knife nut. We all know stuff. We're probably half wrong most of the time, but you know how it goes. Yeah, I got to play with this stuff a lot. RPM9 does one really weird thing that it makes no sense. It does not make sense according to the composition. It does not make sense according to how it's processed. The powdered metallurgy should have nothing to do with it. It strops back to razor sharpness. I don't get it. I do not get it. There are very few steels that can do that. And for some reason, sharpening RPM9 takes some time. Like, you got to sit there. You got to get it. It's been better. It's performed a little better with oxide stones rather than diamond stones. That could just be our, whoever tested. When Mike Emler did it, he's like, hey, the diamond stones take forever. Oxide stones takes like 2 minutes. And like, oh, I don't know why, but okay. But his whole thing is, hey, what did you do to this? Because all I have to do is strop this 5 or 6 times and I can pop hair again. It's like, how did you do that? I'm like, I don't know, man. You got me. It's like, that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen with something this hard. I'm like, you got me. I don't know. Black magic, whatever. But yeah, so the nice thing about this, especially with a kitchen knife, is that maintenance is going to be just Done. If you want to get something really sharp, really fast, say you're doing like, you know, maybe we end up with something like this in an industrial kitchen. Maybe you're doing, you know, again, outdoor game prep. Maybe this is the only knife you have during a short camping trip. I don't know. I don't camp much. I don't like camping. It's cold, it's wet, and I'm miserable. But you know what? Some people like camping, and they're entitled to it. But I don't think, let's pretend they're not knife nuts. Let's just start with that. Let's pretend they don't literally have an entire knife roll of knives to take out camping because, you know, like we do. But let's pretend that they only have something like the Silix. Just say this is the only one. Say that, you know, they want their knife to perform optimally over the course of a, you know, week-long, weekend-long camping trip, but this is all they have. Maybe someone decided they'd be smart and bring a whole chicken to, you know, break down and cut into bits and put in the Dutch oven and, you know, cook, and they're sitting there going, how do I, cool, chop, cut, done. Strop really quick. Don't even need the compound, just do a quick strop on leather, and you have a knife that's sharp again enough to do paring, do cutting, do fine work. And that's kind of slick for something that's kitcheny. I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited to see how people like this in that style of use. So we'll see how that one goes. But we found the RPM9 has been a perfect choice for a lot of these things, and I hope at some point we'll be putting out some kitchen knives too. So fingers crossed. We'll see how that goes.
That's great. That's great that you're offering the steel in more than one type of blade. It's not just in an EDC style folding knife. You've got different with different knives will come appeal to different types of people who will use them for different types of things. So you're going to get a lot of information coming back, which is clearly what you want. You want honest feedback from people who are going out and actually using this stuff, and that's going to be really helpful. So yeah, that's cool. That's great that you guys are, you know, offering up that versatility in the product line and with this new steel. I think lots of people are interested. I definitely am. There's a couple in there.
We got you covered.
Oh man, that first CJRB and the Artisan Cutlery with the fidget factor, the slot, those two. Oh boy, I'm very, very interested. The other stuff looks fantastic as well, but I think you probably knew which ones I was going to be, because we got, for my audience, seriously, we do talk a lot. We communicate a lot on Instagram. We talk about different models, right? So yeah, he's probably gotten a feel for the stuff that I like. So this was a blast, man.
This is fun. I like talking about knives. What can I say?
Yeah, I'm so glad. You know, I'll lose track of time if the conversation's stimulating. I'll lose track of time, and it's fun. I'll just let it keep going. You know. So
this is great, man.
Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Well, other than mentioning that our Amazon store is doing pretty good, and we have some new models out that are not necessarily available through other retailers. So we have this version of the Gobi we just put out a while ago. We did the Gobi, I believe, early last year. It's kind of been a middling good seller, but a lot of people wanted a full blacked out version. So we did a PVD coated version of the Gobi with red hardware and RPM9 steel. This one comes in about $10 more than a regular Gobi, and you get all the cool factors of this one. We also just released a version of the Crag with carbon fiber scales, and again, same red and black hardware, PVD coated blade. That one's out as well, and there will probably be some coming out sooner. So these are available directly through our Amazon store, which essentially is directly through Artisan, just through our warehouse. So that is a little thing that we're kind of working on this year. We're kind of mostly trying to get stuff out to our main dealers and distributors. We're trying to make sure that our retailers get the first pick of the batch, but we wanted to have something a little special for our dedicated customers and for that wide customer base that Amazon offers. Well, it's kind of a little move. We're trying to make sure that everyone gets a little extra Artisan, a little extra CJRB action out there. So cool. Yeah, this one, there'll be more, but these are available right now. And the Crag, I believe, is available tomorrow as we're recording this. It should be available today or tomorrow.
Okay, well, awesome. Well, we talked about this a little bit before we got started here. I should be able to provide you guys with links down below on that stuff. I had never seen that, and we talked about it a little bit, and he kind of explained, you know, how this works. So yeah, you guys should be able to grab that stuff by opening up the description and checking that out along with all the other links here. But yeah, hey, this was great, man.
It was fun.
Thanks so much for hanging out and talking with me.
That was awesome. I love chatting about knives. What can I say? This is why they hired me.
Well, hey, perfect. Good deal. Well, guys, once again, this was Russell from Artisan Cutlery and CJRB. So if you guys have questions, anything like that, feel free to leave a comment right down below. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode of The Knife Guy. I hope you found it at least mildly entertaining. I was definitely entertained.
Same.
But yeah, guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's upload. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that. I think it's on the inside Metal Complex logo right there, and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.